baby.
Happy Friday, everyone. Week 14. Jason is on a Friday, usually a Monday. We usually do gambling with gold on a Monday, but we're doing it on a Friday here. What's up, Jason? How's it going? You got a fridge delivered. How's the fridge look?
Sorry for being 10 minutes late. Fridge in the garage looks great. A little extra room for the holidays. Store some extra food out there, some drinks, some cold beverages for Sundays. So, happy to be here on a Friday. Got some good line values to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to get into it.
Yes, and usually... It makes me smile. And usually you're on in the beginning of the week. So having you on at the end of the week is fun because it's more final picks. We're going to do a competition this week. Me, you, also versus the Magic 8 Ball. We're going to go through a couple games, take our favorite picks here. We're going to start out with the Detroit Lions at Chicago. Detroit is -3.5 road favorites, -175 on the money line. Total sitting at 43. Which side are you going here?
If you can get the 3.5 on Chicago, I absolutely love that bet. The line at circa is 3 in the contest.
Okay.
I'm contemplating it being one of my selections. It's definitely in the conversation right now. But with that extra hook at home, you got to take Chicago in this position. Jared Goff outdoors is just a nightmare for turnovers. We saw what happened 2 weeks ago in Detroit, where Chicago should have put away that game. They weren't able to. Detroit came back. But Detroit has some issues up front. Ragnow's going to be out. Ali McNeil's going to be out. And I like Goff to turn over the ball a couple times. I assume this is a small special Goff interception situation all day long. I like where the Bears are right now. I like the way this defense is playing. I think they're going to get it done. I think that they're going to win this game outright.
Really? Outright. Okay. So we can do this. Let's do the circa number because I think I might be the other way. I'm a little bit nervous because I know there is sharp money coming in on the Bears. And the Bears, here's the thing, watching that game versus the Vikings in the Bears defense is not as bad as I think people realize. They're going to be tough next year.
The Bears are good. Like that defense, the Bears are good, but that defense is playing, they're pretty legit. And if they get a couple turnovers, I'd make this a little bit easier on the offense for Chicago. Another bet that I like here, it's not going to make our quad D segment, but Justin Fields over 59.5 rushing yards. Yeah. I think they're going to utilize him a lot in this game. And Detroit's defense fucking stinks.
God, I'm going to go the other way. We'll do the circle line. Okay, so you're taking Chicago -3. I'm going to take Detroit -3.
I'm taking Chicago +3.
+3, sorry.
It was all good.
It's a long week, all right, everyone? Let's see. Magic 8 Ball. We'll go Detroit -3. What does that even say? You may rely on it. So the Magic 8 Ball's with me. We're against you here, Jason. We'll go on to the next game. I just want to get this game out of the way. I asked you what games you were eyeing, what games you had a strong stance on. So Green Bay Packers going to my New York Giants. Green Bay -6.5 road favorites, -330 on the money line. Totals at 37. New York Giants are 1-5 against spread in the last 5 here. So where are you headed? Because I have a feeling you're going to do what I would prefer you do not do.
Yeah, I mean, I got to do it. 6.5 point dogs at home after what we just saw Sunday night from Green Bay taking out Kansas City. The sportsbook's eventually going to catch up to Green Bay here.
Yeah.
I think this is the week that it happens, and I have to take that stance, right? But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like this Green Bay team is playing like a playoff team. Jordan Love looks great against that tough Kansas City defense. He was throwing the ball out there like he was Aaron Rodgers. But, coming off of a bye for the Giants, you're all healthy. I like the swag that DeVito's got going. He didn't look so bad the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think they can cover the 6.5 number at home. It's a lot of points. You get the bump from Sunday Night Football against Green Bay. That's probably worth at least a point to the line. You're getting through the key number of 6 there. I think this line should be 4.5, 5.5, somewhere in that weird Vegas zone range. So I'm getting extra value here. I got to take it on the Giants. I don't love it. It's not my favorite pick of the week. Betting on the Giants stinks, especially against Green Bay right now. But You know what? These are spots if you play over and over and over again, you're going to end up making money long term. So I got to do it.
Okay, here are my 2 issues. I'll tell you my 2 issues. These are my issues with this game. One, my issue is I'm tempted to take the Giants plus 6.5 only because of this defense. I think that people are not realizing that the Giants defense is actually good. Like they have been playing very tough. They're all this team really has. On the other hand, my big concern is I think this is the week in the public eye that DeVito crashes back down. And I think it turns into an utter fucking disaster. The fans stop buying t-shirts. They stop going like this. Like, I just think that this is going to end up being the week that things don't go well for DeVito. Green Bay's defense has been playing well, but I could see it too. You're taking New York Giants plus 6.5. I think the Giants do lose, but I don't think that Green Bay dominates them because of their D.
Well, as a Giants fan, you know this. The Giants do exactly the opposite of what you want them to do at all times. What you want them to do right now is bottom out. You know what? Dayball's going to get the boys rolling. They're going to end up with 6 wins on the season. 6-11. You end up with like the 8th pick, no chance of a quarterback. It's perfect.
And what makes me nervous too, because even if my theory that this is going to be a really bad week for DeVito, it doesn't matter because Tyrod's healthy. So you just take DeVito out and you put Tyrod in, and then I think we have then I could have a different conversation. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to take the New York Giants 6.5. I was very adamantly against this.
Baseball's going to hate it.
It's going to be awful. Yeah. Let's go Green Bay minus 6.5. What's the 8-ball want? It doesn't want to answer this. I'll tell you that much. I'm with you on that. These are hard to. I'm not certain. Yeah, me too. Certain it is. It is certain. So they're going with Green Bay. So we're fucked. The ball knows what's up, probably warning me. The universe is giving me a sign. All right, let's go Carolina at New Orleans. Saints are 4.5-point favorites, minus 230 on the money line. Total is 37.5. The Saints are a whopping 0-5 against the spread at home. Where are you at this game? Which side are you going?
I don't really know who's going to end up starting for New Orleans in this game. I'm not sure that I care, but I'm kind of hoping more that it's Jameis. Jameis is a favorite. This is just an auto fade for his entire career, and I'll continue it here. Carolina's defense is playing pretty well. I don't know if anyone has noticed this since their bye week, but they're top half of the league in defense. I think that continues here. New Orleans red zone woes continue. Taysom Hill's injured, so they can't even plug and play that one in the red zone situation. So I think it's going to be hard for both teams to score in this game. I expect it to be low scoring. The circle line's +5 on Carolina. I like that number.
Okay.
4.5, I guess, is still fine. Anything above 3. You know, these NFC South games at this point in the season seems like everything's ending around a field goal. I don't expect to see very many blowouts in this situation. So I think New Orleans wins. I think it's close. I think the score last week in Tampa Bay versus Carolina was like 21-18. I expect a similar score here. Give me 20-17, New Orleans, with Carolina covering the +5.
Okay. I am going to go with you as well. I think the Saints are not the team that people think that they are. So I'm with you. Let's see. Saints -5 here. What the 8-ball wants. Ask again later. Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Can't predict now. All right. Are we taking an L for this?
Maybe.
You got to make a decision here. You may rely on it. Okay. So the ball is also going with the Saints. It's probably the way I'm shaking this thing, but that's all right. Let's go to the next game here. Buffalo at Kansas City. Chiefs. I think what is the circle line? Because we'll go off the circle
1.5. 1.5.
What is it? 1.5?
Yeah.
Okay. What side are you going with that? Total's 48.5. This is an interesting game.
Yeah, Mahomes 7-0 after a loss in his last 7. Sorry. Kansas City at home getting under the field goal. I'm taking Kansas City. I have to do it. I understand Sunday Night Football didn't go well for them. Mahomes had the ball last, didn't quite come through. Although maybe that's MBS or the ref's fault in that game. Buffalo has had success in Kansas City during the regular season, but with everything that's swirling around Sean McDermott right now, I don't think it's a great spot, even though they're coming off the bye. I do think the Buffalo's going to sneak their way into the playoffs. But I don't think they're able to get a win here. I think their run starts next week. Give me Kansas City -1.5. I got to take Mahomes at home under a field goal. It's just one of those gambling rules. I'm going to stick to it every single time.
Yeah, I'm going against you here. I'm going to take the Buffalo +1.5 on the chance that I do think they could win this game outright. Buffalo should, and I'm saying should very lightly, be able to find success on the ground against this Kansas City team. I also think The Bills have forced the 4th most turnovers this season, and the Chiefs are turning it over the 8th most. I think that if they can get the Chiefs to make mistakes here, I think the Bills could win this game. So I'm going to take Bills plus 1.5. We'll see. Magic 8 Ball, Chiefs minus 1.5. They're going to go there. I keep deciding, like, is it a they? Is it a she? I don't know. So they are with you on that. Let's go to Philly, Dallas game here. Dallas minus 3.5. Totals 52. I didn't tell you we were going to talk about this game, but we're talking about this game. So I'm interested in your opinion on this. Where are you at? Where do you lean?
Yeah, so this is a really tough one. I'll tell you the two bets that I've made on this game thus far. I bet the over 51.5 last night, and I bet Dallas money line. I do think that Dallas is the better team here. We saw Philadelphia get exposed last week. I'm not discounting Philadelphia as a Super Bowl contender at all. I think this team has heart, spirit, guts, good coaching, good quarterback, great defensive line, best offensive line in the league, good playmakers. They have it all to win a Super Bowl. I think they're in the middle of the toughest stretch that any NFL team will face this season. They already got a couple wins. Usually Dallas and Philly split. I think this Dallas team at home with 10 days rest. They're just a juggernaut. Dak's playing like MVP. We keep talking about it every single time on this show. He's finally getting his respect. He's tied for the favorite right now in Vegas. I think he puts up another incredible performance. I think that San Francisco laid the blueprint. I think that Dallas's defense can show up and do the exact same thing. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Dallas blowout in this situation, but given that the Eagles are the Eagles and they're an incredible team, laying the 3.5 with the hook is a little scary. So my preference is to do Dallas money line in the situation. I do think there will be points on both sides of the ball. I think this game ends up like 31-24 Dallas. So I like that over 51.5 if you can still get it out there.
Yeah. I'm going in the beginning of the week, I was on Dallas. I don't like the way that the public is like absolutely dry humping the shit out of Dallas right now. I can't do it. That's the best way I could describe it. It's making me sick. I don't know. I don't think I've seen anyone outside of Sean Green, who is an Eagles fan, take the Eagles. So I'm going to take the Eagles here. Is the circle line 3.5 too?
The circle line is 3.5.
Okay. Are you taking the minus 3.5 with Dallas?
I do not think that I will take the minus 3.5 with Dallas in the contest. If you pressed me to take a side, I would take the Dallas 3.5 side.
Okay, I'm pressing you right now because I'm adding this to her.
Okay, great. Then I will take the Cowboys side.
I'm taking Eagles plus 3.5. Magic 8 Ball minus 3.5 here, and is also on your side. I don't feel great about those picks. That's all right. We'll get into Quad Ds, which I do feel great about. This is the first time I'm including someone in Quad Ds, so I'm excited to have you do this with me. Start out with your dad bet.
All right, dad bet. Bijan Robinson over 18.5 receiving yards in the Tampa Bay Falcons game. I actually love a couple bets here. We'll talk about one when we get to the dumb fuck bet. Yeah. But over 39.5 for the total for the game, over 20 for the first half. I think there's going to be points in this game in a surprising matchup. And I think that Bijan and Rachaad White both have big games through the air, but Bijan over 18.5. I'm sure this number's already flown up. I bet it on Tuesday. When we get to dumb fuck, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but that's my dad bet.
I like it. I like Rachaad White as well this week. Before you got on backstage, I gave Ryan my picks for the Quad D so he could start working on the graphic. And when I told him the name of the guy on my dad bet, he asked me who that was. So it's a bold dad pick, but we're going with Kylan Granson, Colts tight end over 12.5 receiving yards. I got it at minus 110. I see places there's still minus 115, but most places have moved to 13.5. Last week, 3 receptions for 76 yards. The Bengals are absolute ass against opposing tight ends. Like extremely, extremely bad, allowing more than 8 yards per target, which is worse in the NFL. And if you look back to the last 5 games, Ingram last week, who was our dumb fuck bet that I made a parlay. Thank you, Evan Ingram. I don't have to put you on the no bet list. 9 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Week before that, Freiermuth, 9 receptions, 120 yards. Even Hayward got 2 receptions there. I think he only had like 11 yards. Andrews got hurt, but 2 receptions, 23 yards. Schultz, 4 receptions, 71 yards. And Kincaid, 10 receptions, 81 yards. 12.5 is a low number. That's why I think you're seeing it move already. I think he easily goes over this. I have taken probably every alt line. So either I'm going to hate this guy, he's going to go right on the no bet list, but he's my dad this week.
Love it.
Yeah. Let's go to dud. Who's your dud of the week?
Josh Dobbs under 229.5 passing yards. I think there's a chance that he gets subbed out in this game if they start off slow. One game that we didn't talk about with the Magic 8-Ball was I love the Raiders +3 in this game. I don't like the vibes coming out of the Vikings camp at all, even though they're getting JJ back. I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference in this game. So give me Josh Dobbs under 229.5 passing yards.
Interesting, because my dud is also in that game. It is a Raiders player, though. I looked at the Dobbs. That actually was in contention for this. My dud, everyone is going to absolutely hate, and that's okay. Josh Jacobs, under 76.5 rushing yards, -114. He's gone over this in 3 of the last 5. But I think Vegas is trying to tempt people into taking the over here because of those 2 100+ rushing yard weeks in the last 3 games. One of them he had a 63-yard rush, and the other he had a 40. It's a little bit false, there. It's tricking you into it. He's only had 2 100+ rushing weeks this season, and the Vikes are actually doing very good against the run here. Last week, Fields was the leading rusher, 59 yards versus the Broncos. Javonte Williams, 37 yards, and the Saints game, the leading rusher was Kamara, 42 yards. So some places you could see this all the way down at 70.5 rushing yards. I got the under at 76.5. It's still at FanDuel there. So I really like him to go under.
That's good value.
I love it. All right. Who is your dog this week?
Yeah, we're going to go with the Bears. We already talked about it. +3. Give me +175 on the money line. Let's ride. I'm all in on the Chicago Bears this week.
Okay. I got tempted before we got in the show. Really wasn't a shift. Actually, someone tried to mansplain me that there wasn't a difference between 11.5 and 12. I made a joke about Adam eating the apple. That's the whole fucking point of the joke. I'm taking Seattle +12. I almost went back to Carolina. It's a divisional rival off 10 days of rest. DK is getting involved more. Seattle's O-line is finally healthy. 49ers are coming off that very big win versus the Eagles. And the last 10 games against 49ers against the Seattle, it's like 7-3 straight up, or Seattle, other way around. Seattle is 7-3 straight up. So I'm taking Seattle +12.
Yeah, I had a long conversation with our old friend Dan Titus, who I'm in a certain contest with, about taking Seattle in this position because it lines up with everything that I believe in about gambling says you should take Seattle in this position. But I also made a rule early in the season that if San Francisco has their 5 offensive guys healthy, I am not allowed to bet against them. I can't do it. Purdy, Trent, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. If they're all healthy, you can't bet against them. So by that rule that we made, we can't take Seattle, even though it makes a ton of sense. So I totally get the angle. I just can't personally get there because I made a stupid rule.
I think I've been so hot lately that I think I can get a little frisky with some of the bets this week, and it's probably going to
why not?
It's going to end very badly for me, but that's okay. Dumb fuck bet. Where are you going?
All right, so I'm going back to that Bijan bet. We're going to go Bijan and Rachaad White over 30 yards receiving. That is +300 odds on a little parlay there. Okay. I actually am tempted to do over 50 yards each in this one and do a full ladder on the parlay. I haven't done it yet. This is the bet that I've actually made, so I'll give it to you guys. But I think that both are going to have massive games through the year. I also like both of their over 2.5 receiving totals. I think they're going to be heavily, heavily involved.
I don't hate it at all. My dumb fuck is not that dumb. I almost picked a bet that people called me dumb for, but I'm going back to Justin Herbert to throw an interception +145. Including playoff games, like 31 interceptions in 37 games. I realize this is a coin flip, so it qualifies as dumb fuck here. If I was trying to get really risky, and I will say, like, I will not be mad at anyone if they take Kylan Granson up to 50+ yards. Like, I'm being so fucking for real. I think that he's going to go off this weekend. So, and not that crazy of a dumb fuck bet. The other game I wanted to ask you about, before Munaf comes on, what about this Houston New York Jets game?
I think the line dropped so much that there's actually value on Houston in this position. I actually have a couple of bets in this game. So Houston minus 3.5 is definitely in contention for a pick for us in the circuit contest. I just think there's too much value there. I don't trust the Jets to score. I'm not a believer in the Zach Wilson coming back thing is going to make much of a difference for their offense. I do like the under 17 first half in this game. Stroud has not been as good on the road. They have started slower, and this Jets offense just doesn't score at all. And the Houston defense is getting better and better. I think D'Amico has them playing in the right way. So under 17 first half would also be a play for me. If you're asking me for my pick on this game, certainly a lean towards Houston minus 3.5. May end up as one of our top 5 plays of the week.
What other games do you have bets on? Now I'm intrigued because I feel like you have quite a few this week. This feels like a gold week.
I hope it is. We need it. The one that we're discussing right now that I can't figure out would be the Cleveland minus 3.5 number. I bet this at 2.5 earlier in the week. I think it's going to be Flacco going. I actually really liked what I saw out of Flacco last week. Throwing deep balls is going to be huge in this game, and he certainly still has the arm. No mobility at all, but the guy can fucking chuck it. So that's probably good for the Browns offense. And also the Browns defense, their home road splits are absolutely outrageous. They're allowing 10 points a game at home and almost 30 on the road. They're at home in this game. I think that there's a chance that they blow out the Jaguars. I don't think that Trevor Lawrence is going to play. I don't know if anyone that really
apparently, right?
Yeah, I know, but like no one comes back after a high ankle sprain after 5 days off. It's just such a horrible situation. After the Monday night game, absolute collapse in that game. Now you have to travel on the road to Cleveland in bad weather conditions. When you're injured, you're not going to have your starting quarterback. Your backup quarterback in Beathard is also injured. Does that mean Nathan Rourke is going to be your quarterback in this game?
Yeah,
it's just a bad situation for the Jaguars. But 3.5 in the circuit contest, who the fuck is Joe Flacco to be laying 3.5 points versus anyone? So that's really throwing me off. If this was 2.5 or 3, I would certainly be on the Browns. I have to make the determination if I'm really willing to send it with the 3.5.
Yeah, I think one thing I already bet on Flacco to throw an interception. It was like a ridiculous number, not something that I advise anyone to bet. Another game, Los Angeles Rams, who are kind of flirting with, I think, you know what I think? I will believe in script writers if Stafford goes back to the Lions, goes back to Ford Field to play his first playoff game.
That would be a lot of fun.
It would be a blast, and I would definitely take the Rams.
Here's the thing that I'm rooting for the Rams. We talked about it before the season. I love the Rams coming into the season. I gave out over 6.5 on this show. We're 1 win away, baby. We got to cash that ticket. Does it happen this week against Baltimore? Probably not, but I hope that it does. I actually wanted to get your opinion on this game. 7.5 seems like a lot of points, but the Ravens have been spanking teams at home, and there's going to be some weather in this game. Does that cause concern for the Rams passing game? But Kyren Williams, I mean, maybe they just run the shit out of the ball and they're able to keep it close.
I know, that's the thing. And I think too, which I'd be interested to see what Cooper Kupp's receiving number is at, because I probably will take the under on whatever.
Yeah, I bet the under earlier in the week.
You did?
I bet it at, yeah, I did. Give me 2 seconds. I can bring up the number that I had.
He screwed me on a parlay last week because I had his over receptions, over receiving, and a touchdown, and he needed one more catch. And I was like, you motherfucker. He was pissing me off all game.
So I bet Cooper Kupp under receiving yards, 47.5 at FanDuel. Okay. That was minus 114. And I also bet Kyren Williams rushing attempts over 15.5, minus 105 at MGM. Those were the 2 bets that I had. Oh, there's also another one that I haven't bet yet that I was considering in that game, which was Zay Flowers under 45.5 receiving yards, 45.5 at MGM, minus 110. I thought that was interesting because of, I don't know what's going on with the Lamar situation. Like, he always get these colds somehow. Like, he needs to be locked in a clean room at this point in the year.
Vitamin C, like, take your zinc, take your, like, what the fuck is going? He always does. You're right.
So I don't know what's going on with him. I anticipate that he'll probably play, but probably try to run the ball more in that game. Zay Flowers, I just think that if the Rams are going to try and stop someone in this game, it has to be Flowers. So probably under on that. I haven't made that bet yet.
I like Isaiah likely in that game to go over 3.5 receptions. I'm trying to look now because I'd like to find some odds on the Ravens to turn the ball over at some point, because I think that ends up happening in this game. Do you think in your gut that the Rams make it to the playoffs?
That NFC playoff picture at the bottom is really disgusting.
It's so gross.
Seattle, it's basically, I think it'll be Seattle or the Rams, and I feel a little bit better about the Rams schedule coming down the stretch. So gut check, yes, I think they sneak in as the 7th seed, and it'd be fun if they face Detroit, but I don't think Detroit's going to end up being the 2 seed.
But I would love for that to end up happening. Last game I'll ask you about, because it's the other big spread on the board. Tennessee at Miami. There's 13.5s out there. Where are you at with this?
Yeah, I think this is just another case of Miami versus a bad team. You just take it every time and hold your nose and go with it. Tennessee, Will Levis versus pressure has been horrific. He's basically like in Zach Wilson levels. And the Miami, despite what I don't think that their defense is great, but they do bring a lot of pressure. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think there's going to be a couple of turnovers in this game. And the way that you beat Tennessee is through the air. So, Tyreek 200 plus yards this game. I don't know.
I love it. I'm for those kids in the class. Have you seen that teacher that is teaching Tyreek's like receiving yard totals and stuff to them and they get a free homework pass? That. Oh, I have to send it to you because your wife will love it too. But I'm rooting for them always to get it accurate. So I'm down for him to go over the 100 yards.
I love it.
I'll send to you. All right, you are great. I will see you Monday. This time we'll be back. Gambling Gold Monday. Follow Jason on Twitter at JasonGold24, and we'll see how we do against this Magic 8 Ball here.
All right, that's great. Thanks, Smalls. See ya.
Bye. And now it's Money's Munaf for Munaf Fridays. How's it going?
Yeah, what's going on? Can't believe it's Friday already.
I can't.
I made sure I was on mute this time, so.
I'm proud of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's get into some of these props. I'm so overwhelmed because there's a lot I like this week, and that's usually a bad sign because it ends up being the week that it doesn't go as well. What's one of the props that you're looking at?
So I know weather is a factor, at least in some of these games on the East Coast. So I had to scale back just a little bit.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, my kind of theory is that if it's not broken, don't try to fix it.
Yes.
Justin Fields over on his rushing yards, the number is at 61.5 now. I think the books are trying to adjust to what he's done against the Detroit Lions in his career. 3 straight games where he's had 100+ rushing yards against the Detroit Lions. We saw him do it a few weeks back. It's at 61.5 right now, Steph. So, I'm going to continue riding it. I think that was a game where the Bears should have won in Detroit a few weeks back. They gave it away at the end, but Justin Fields just continues to dominate on the ground against the Detroit Lions. Over 61.5 rushing yards was my first one that I really liked this week.
Yeah, I took that as well. I was going to check to see what his rushing attempts were too. I also like him to score a touchdown this week very much. So where are you at that game? Are you on the Bears or the Lions?
I'm on the Bears.
God, everyone is. See, I'm alone here. I don't know. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And I think the Bears D, like I was telling Jason earlier, I just think it's better than people realize.
They've got, I know the record doesn't indicate it that they're that good this season, but they've, I think, slowly gotten better week to week.
Yeah.
And I don't trust Jared Goff outdoors in cold weather either. I know
never.
He's more of a West Coast guy, but
I think the rest of the season he's in a dome though. So even if they let this one down, it's like, oh well, it's fine. This could be a little letdown week. So maybe I'll change my stance and regret taking the Lions this week. I'm gonna go to our guy Jonathan Mingo.
Yes.
I see the fantasy community is starting to catch on to him, which means I'm starting to hate him. Longest reception. I got it at, I think I took it at 16.5. I saw FanDuel drop it to 15.5 yards. People are, I guess, feeling, you know what it is towards the back end of the season? A lot of these vets are going to get rest and people don't realize that too. So Thielen is definitely, he's dropping off quite, a lot from what we saw in the beginning of the year, which isn't honestly not really that unfamiliar to the way that a lot of his seasons do go. He usually stays hot towards the beginning, but you look at Mingo and he is really heating up here last 2 weeks, 10 targets, 6 receptions, 69 yards, nearly the same thing the week before that. in those weeks. His longest were 31 and 24. We talked about this. Bryce Young, coach is out of there. They're going to let him air it out a little bit here. So I think that this is an easy number for him to go over in this situation.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this last week, right? The exact reasons that Adam Thielen starts to tail off.
Yeah.
When the month of December starts and you want to see some of these younger guys take that next step up for the Carolina Panthers. And, like you mentioned, 60 plus receiving yards in the last 2 weeks for Jonathan Mingo. He's gone over on longest reception. So the targets have been there for him as well. So yeah, Mingo got it done for us last week. I know we laddered it all the way up to 60 plus receiving yards. So hopefully he does it again this week as well. So love it.
Yeah. What's your next one that you're looking at?
So last week I took Jonathan Mingo for a reason against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we talked about how they're allowing the most receiving yards to the wide receiver position. This week, the Falcons are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a big game for the NFC South division. I'm looking at Drake London, over 46.5 receiving yards in this game. So he's played in 3 career games against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier this season. In that matchup, he did have 54 receiving yards. And if you want to go back to last season as well, there was a game where he had 120 plus receiving yards as well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And last season, that team was a lot more healthy in the secondary. And this season, it's just been absolutely atrocious for them. So I thought this number was fairly low for Drake London. The only concern I do have is Desmond Ridder is the quarterback for the Falcons.
Always. There has to be a little bit of concern every time.
Yeah, and I think the targets will still be there for him. I know he's had 6 in the last 2 weeks, has Drake London. Last week, it really didn't translate to anything. He only had 1 reception for 8 yards. But I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. And I believe in every single game this season, at least at home for Drake London, he's gone over this projection of 46.5. So I think this might be the my ladder of the week, that if you want to take Drake London up to 70, 80 plus yards, I really do like him to have a bounce back week here this week.
Yeah, I was furring with his longest reception because I've been liking those a lot. It's at 18.5. You might end up seeing me back on that. For my next one here, Jahmyr Gibbs, longest rush, over 12.5, minus 125. He went over this last time versus Chicago. He's gone over this by plenty, aside from 2 games this season. It doesn't seem like Vegas has quite caught up with what he is doing week after week. And then you look at what Chicago has given up to these guys. Madison, longest rush, 21 yards. Montgomery, 20. Kept rushers under versus Carolina. But then Taysom Hill, 14. Kamara, 13. So 12.5 should be no problem here for Jahmyr Gibbs.
He has that breakout ability too, right? I mean, they drafted him really that high for some reason. But I think as game by game, he's really starting to get familiar with the professional level in the NFL. I mean, he has that breakout ability. And again, this is going to be a game where it's going to be freezing temperatures. So I don't expect either of these quarterbacks to really, air the ball out.
Right.
We might see David Montgomery, hopefully Jahmyr Gibbs as well involved heavily in the offense for the Detroit Lions. So I do love that for Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to go back to fading more bad rush defenses.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a big Joe Mixon week. Over 62.5 rushing yards is the number. So let's go back to about the last couple weeks here. The Indianapolis Colts rush defense is allowing the second most rushing yards on the season. Only worst team has been the Arizona Cardinals. Colts are allowing 143 yards on the ground since week 10. Last 2 weeks, we saw King Henry had 100 plus rushing yards against the Indianapolis Colts in a division game. And then prior to that, our guy, Rachaad White, had 100 plus rushing yards. And then the week before Ramondre Stevenson got injured, he had 80 plus rushing yards as well against the Colts as well. So I know last week on Monday Night Football that Jake Browning had a career day throwing the football. That's because Jacksonville's rush defense is one of the best in the league. But I think we'll see Zach Taylor go back to feeding the ball a little bit more here to Joe Mixon. So I really did like this at over 62.5 Joe Mixon for him on the ground here this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to tell you on that. The last one I'll throw in here is another name that not everyone is very familiar with, but Tanner Hudson over 2.5 receptions. Not super exciting, but he's gone fairly over this in 5 straight games, and it seems like Browning really likes him. So it's kind of his pacifier here these last couple games. So I'm going to take Tanner Hudson over 2.5 receptions. Any last player props before we build a SGP here?
I'll throw one more out there in that I don't know why I love this Falcons and Bucks game.
You do, huh?
I'm just gonna go back to our reliable Rachaad White. We mentioned it on his receiving yards. 24.5 is a number. I'll make this quick. He's played in 3 career games against the Falcons as well. He's had 28 receiving yards, and then earlier this season he had 6 receptions on 6 targets, turned into 65 receiving yards. So it's in a dome. Weather's not a factor here. It'll be a faster turf, so I expect a lot of these guys to really get over either their receiving yards props or their rushing props. I think this is going to be could be a shootout in this game, but I do like Rachaad White to get over 24.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Another guy that I don't think Vegas has quite caught up on what they're doing week after week. All right, let's do a same game parlay. Let's do that Kansas City Bills game. There's a couple very good games, also a lot of very bad games this week. This is one of the good games, you would assume. What are you looking at when you look at this game? I'm definitely interested in James Cook this game.
Yeah, I think James Cook either receiving yards, I think would be a great look. That number is only at 19.5. So I think before a couple hours ago, maybe an hour ago, Isaiah Pacheco got ruled out for the Kansas City Chiefs. So
everyone's going to bet on CEH. Everyone.
Yeah, and that's why I want to pivot to Jerick McKinnon.
Let's do it.
On his receiving yards.
Okay.
So we'll throw him in there. What do you think at 17
I love it. What is it sitting at?
17.5.
Yeah, let's take it for sure. I'm with you on that. You mentioned Mahomes to me when we first were chit-chatting.
Mm-hmm.
I was originally kind of against taking his rushing yards, but I did see that it came down in some places because it was really high at some point.
Yeah. So what do you think about pivoting to Josh Allen on his rushing yards?
I think. Where is he sitting at?
So if we want to do an alt one, it's 40 plus that plus 115, or if we just want to play 33.5 at minus 120. And I'll quickly read off what he's done rushing yards wise. This is both playoffs and regular season, 5 games, 32, 68, 59, 88, and 42. So he's had 40 plus in 4 of the 5 career games.
Okay, so here's my theory too. I think that, and I did the little sprinkle kind of blind bet on the Bills making the playoffs because it was kind of a ridiculous number. And I felt like it was like +4 something. I'm like, I'm going to throw a little bit of pizza money on this.
Yeah.
I think for that to happen, it's going to be a situation where Josh Allen puts the team entirely on his back. And I think that involves him using his athleticism, him running a lot. So you can pick between the two. I am fine with either of those. If you want to play it safe, I'll do that. If you don't want to play it safe, I'll take that alt line.
Yeah, let's take the alt 40 plus.
Let's do it. I love it.
I really do think he'll get 50 plus here this week.
Yeah. Who else were you looking at for this? Rashee Rice interests me a little bit here. James Cook,
let me see what his targets have been. Oh yeah, he's at not double digit targets, but he's at 19 targets over the last 2 weeks, 8 receptions each, 64 receiving yards, and then 107 over the last weeks. It seems like Taylor Swift is getting to Travis.
Oh, it
Kelce's
moved.
head.
It's 51.5 now. What about Kelce receptions?
Let me see. Where is receptions?
Kelce, let's see.
Receiving props.
His receiving line's at 68.5. I see it up to 70.5. Receptions are 6.5.
I think I feel comfortable with the receptions.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I'm in on that as well. Again, it seems like Mahomes always goes back to old reliable. And what old reliable is just having Kelce. He's not going to have Pacheco in that game. McKinnon will get his, and then he'll go to just what he knows. Is Swift going to the game? That's what I want to know too, because she does play better when she's there. So
Is this a home game for the Chiefs? If it is, I believe she'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
What's
is
the
a home
odds
game.
on that right now?
For her to be at the game?
No, for the same game parlay. The odds have to be like pretty low on her to be there.
So for us right now, the 3 picks we have Kelsey over 6.5 receptions, 40 plus rushing yards for Allen, and over 17.5 for McKinnon. We're at plus 575 right now.
It's not bad. You want to add one more thing or you want to end it there?
Yeah, let's get a little DGen. Why not?
Okay, let's do
add
it. We
one
might
more.
as well. It's a Friday. Let loose here.
Yeah.
Who else did I like in that game?
You mentioned Rashid Rice. I don't hate that because he is getting the targets as well.
He is getting them. So I didn't see. I know his receiving yards were sitting at like 59. I think 59.
It's up to I see 52.5.
Okay. What's his reception at?
Receptions are where are receptions? Rashid Rice 5.5 at plus money. He's at 8 over the last 2 weeks.
So 2 last. I mean,
I think it's a good pivot off of they're going to try to stop Travis Kelce.
I do too.
But I don't hate either one.
I think I kind of like the yards better because I think he's that type of player. Do you agree? Kind of.
Yeah.
Because if you think that if the line is 5.5 reception wise, like he should go well over his receiving in those amount of catches. So even in 4, my expectation would be he was at or over that number.
I agree. So we'll go over 52.5 receiving yards for him. So that 4 legs will get us 12-1.
I love it. All right. Read it out for everyone one more time before I start laying it out here.
Yeah. Same game parlay for the Bills and Chiefs. We're going to go over 17.5 receiving yards for Jerick McKinnon, 40 plus rushing yards for Josh Allen, over 6.5 receptions for Travis Kelce, and then Rashid Rice receiving yards over 52.5. That'll get us a nice 12-1 price.
I like it. All we're doing is asking for a good game because if all those things happen, we got a good game there. What about your Texans before I let you get out of here? What about your Texans this week? Where are you at? You know what I like this week? And they don't have a number yet, but I like Stingley Jr. to get an interception. Zach Wilson.
Yeah, they're down to I don't know why I saw this at 6.5 earlier this week. They're down to 3.5. Maybe because Zach Wilson is making that quarterback.
But come on.
No, I think they go in there to take care of business.
I kind of like my guy Dameon Pierce again this week, kind of.
I think so.
I think it's a Dameon Pierce week. Yeah,
I think it is too. I was talking to someone else and they like Dameon Pierce as well. His rushing yards was only, I think, like 37.5.
That's insulting in my opinion.
Yeah, like I know he hasn't had the greatest season thus far, but I think that would be something that, yeah, I would stamp in approval for that for Dameon Pierce because it is on another West Coast game. He should get the carries. I mean, he's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry over the last 5 games, but I think that he can definitely get at least 40 yards here.
Especially with that shit. If there is shit weather against that secondary, like they should, in theory, just be running the ball.
Yeah. And I think Devin Singletary's, for whatever reason, carries have come down over the last 2 weeks and they're feeding Dameon Pierce a little more. So yeah, over 37.5 for him. I think Texans get it done as well.
I actually like Stroud's rushing yards as well. I think it's sitting at 9.5. I like the over there this week. All right, you're the best. Any last bets, final thoughts, comments, concerns before I let you go enjoy your Friday?
No, I think we pretty much nailed it. Hopefully we cash another same game parlay, another week of football. Enjoy it. We only have about 4 weeks left after this, and then it's playoffs.
Happened too fast. Gosh. Yeah, all right. Well, I will talk to you probably very soon because we're always in the DMs bouncing ideas off of each other. Enjoy your Friday. Catch you next week on the show.
All right. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you. See ya.
The producer, Ryan. Producer, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. I feel like realize the Magic 8 Ball matches our backgrounds, which is kind of on brand for us.
Absolutely, yeah. We go with black and white. We don't go too crazy. We keep it the primary. Well, it's not even primary colors, right? It's like absence of color.
Primary colors are red, blue, and yellow, but close.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to colors.
Although this week is kind of Mine's hard to read. Like this one's stubborn as hell. Now it says very doubtful. I don't know what that means. It feels eerie.
Do we have mean it's very doubtful about this segment? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel great about that. We're going to put that away. Do we have any questions from the listeners?
We do have some questions today. First up from our buddy, Nikki the Good. We got to get him back on the show soon. It's been a while. Where will the Giants draft and why will we be sad? Nikki the Good, another Giants fan.
Yeah, here's the thing about the Giants. They're going to win one more game. I don't know what game it's going to be. I think they draft anywhere from 6 to 8. 7. Probably 7. We'll take 7. I think they draft probably around 7. I think people will be sad because that might end up being not a quarterback like people are expecting. I think the quarterback maybe comes later, but we're sad regardless because we're back drafting in the top 10 and we shouldn't be doing that. Yeah. So it's not great for Giants fans these days. It's definitely not happy days, but hey, Daniel Jones said surgery went well. So everyone get excited. Okay.
Yay. All right. He'll be back. Next question from Kylito. Will Tommy use al dente as an audible call this week?
It's that's very funny and very on brand. Like I said with Jason, I think that this is the week in front of everyone in prime time, which it's like half prime time because there's 2 Monday games. I think this is where people see that DeVito is a backup quarterback against Green Bay's. It's funny I lowered my voice because I feel bad because I'm talking shit. But I think
maybe nobody will hear her if she lowers her voice a little bit in this live broadcast.
Yeah, I think that I'm happy that we have DeVito because unlike Minnesota, I think that we talked about a little bit on Wednesday. There was a question about it. Like at least we know what we have in DeVito, and that's that we got I won't say really good for the league. We have a good backup quarterback. I think that we found that has proven to win us games, that knows the system, and is very young and very cheap. And that's what I think the Vikings should do because they're in a shit position now. They should start Jaren Hall at this point because, I mean, what's the plan? If you don't think that Dobbs can take you and win you a playoff game, the season's almost over here. So maybe it's time to figure out, is Jaren Hall someone that he's a rookie, so you're not paying him a lot. Maybe get him a little bit of the experience. So I'd rather be in our situation.
You're a positive. You're looking at the bright side of the Giant season right now. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm doing my best, but I think the right thing to do would be to start Tyrod if we're going and like if we want to get all. But whatever, it's fine. I'm over it. Let DeVito have his little 5 minutes of fame. What is it? 15 minutes of fame. I'm happy for him. I'm Italian, so I'm allowed to talk shit if I want.
It's Italian. Okay.
He has his own beer.
That was offensive.
Did you see his own beer? It's like Tommy Cutlets. No. It's a Pilsner. Is that what it's called? Pilsner?
Pilsner, yeah. That's a beer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
I don't.
This is going off of the radar a little bit. I actually pulled one of your questions from Twitter. Oh. If someone on the internet called me dumb for a bet, can I count that towards this week's Quad D dumbfuck pick? You actually talked about it a little bit when Jason on. What was the bet they called you a dumbfuck for?
So it was actually, well, I got 2. One I got mansplained for, and that was Seattle's +12, but that's because people don't have humor, and that's okay. And it was a Bible reference. So if you guys didn't go to Christian camp like I did, I understand why you don't know the Adam and Eve fucking story. That's on you. It was the Mingo longest reception. People were not happy about it. He was originally my dad bet, and I got bullied out of it a little bit. I'm not proud of that moment. Moved him into just one of the player props with Munaf, but I almost made him my dumb fuck to make a statement. So
well, there you go.
I have a question for you though.
Oh no! Oh wow! This is really mixing it up ready? On a Friday. Wow.
Okay, so do you think in an emergency situation you could land a plane?
Oh my gosh.
Like in emergency, but an air control is like talking to you. So in an emergency situation, could you successfully land a plane?
I mean, I would say, knowing me and like mechanical and that kind of stuff, I'm not like the best driver. I'm not good at a lot of things that are kind of manly, which I guess landing a plane isn't manly, but it seems like something like a action hero should do. I would say that no, I would be horrible at it, but I have a good friend who's a pilot, and he said that at least on the commercial airline flights, it's all kind of automated now. There's not a lot, so maybe I could get it into the automated sequence and it just lands itself, kind of. I don't know. Where is this coming from?
So apparently 20,000 Americans were asked if they thought that they could land a plane in an emergency situation. Immediately, which I guess I kind of lean towards, I think I could maybe figure it out, which makes sense. So men are very confident they could. I actually definitely could not. My anxiety would take over.
Of course. And how many of those men are white?
Are you ready for this?
I'm sure it's a lot of white men's confidence right there.
This is crazy. So 46% of the respondents said that they were it was like somewhat confident to confident that they could land a plane with the guidance, which is why everyone loses parlays. This is why men lose parlays, because if you think you can land a plane, imagine the bets that you're placing.
There you go. There's a quote right there. That's why men lose parlays, for their confidence.
Yeah, they think they can land a plane, so that's why they add the extra legs to their parlay. All right, let's get out of here. It's a Friday. We'll be back on Monday. It's bowl game week. It'll be a good week. Also, like and subscribe. Get those ratings in for the podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
Watch him make it, break it, break it, break it.